Hello, and welcome to the Fantasy Rewind podcast. I'm your co-host, Dylan Stoll, and I'm joined as always by my friend, Michael Whifford.
Hey.
So today, we are keeping on Willow, the series on Disney Plus here with episode 3 titled...
The Battle of the Slaughtered Lamb.
Battle of the Slaughtered Lamb. All right.
Slaughter.
So, before we dive into this here, I'm going to give out the typical reminders. If you want to get in contact with the show, you can get at us on Instagram, which is at Fantasy Rewind Pod. We are also on Twitter, which is at Fantasy Rewind. Or if you want to send us an email, that is fantasyrewindpod@gmail.com. All right. So, in case you were wondering, I was laughing because Mike and I are on video here, and he's doing all kinds of funny stuff behind the scenes here.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you have any fantasy news for us, Mike?
I know there's a ton of Wheel of Time news and all this other stuff going on right now. I have not looked into any of it yet. I think maybe on our next episode we'll talk a bit more about that stuff and give a little landscape of how things are going with that, and maybe look into some updates for some upcoming shows such as Shadow and Bone. But no.
All right.
What about anything from you?
No, I'm good. So without any further delay, let's dive into the rewind.
Fantasy Rewind. Okay, so the Battle of the Slaughtered Lamb. Now, Brahman is narrating the story about the Chimerian Cyrus. He's talking about how 10,000 years ago, he's trying to narrate with Kit interrupting every 2 seconds to tell, like, oh, I don't care about this, move on. And I'm just like, Kit, shh, it's okay. Like, it's just like, I know they're doing this to be funny, but like, I want to know a little bit more about the history of the world. And this is really the first piece of like lore, like history lore we've gotten about the Willow universe. And it was pretty neat.
For real. This is the first like world building that they've been doing. And like you said, as much as I know they're doing like Kit's interruptions for like comedy effect.
Yeah.
She's just become such a nuisance and so annoying that I'm like, no, Kit, stop.
Stop. Just slap your hand. Anyway, so Brahman's narrating this story, and 10,000 years ago, there's the Chimerian Empire. Thal is heir to this empire. He's a son of the late king, and he has a younger brother who is more healthy than him and thinks that he should be king over his older brother, who has been, I guess, sickly, a little
that's
weaker,
what I got from it.
However you want to say. And so the mother forges this armor, the cuirass, for the older son, as his younger son Tiberius is sieging and trying to take the throne. I guess it protects him. It gives us some information, but
yeah, what I got is like when you're wearing the Chimerian cuirass, that you can't be like hurt by forces of evil. And I guess like by trying to usurp his older brother's right to the throne, the younger brother was committing an act of evil, and so the cuirass protected him from it. And so like he walked out there, the legend was he walked out there single man, took on the entire army by himself and took them down.
So after this point, we kind of get that her father, Kit's father, had actually found the cuirass.
Right.
And that was sort of the end of that. And then there's a bit of a fight scene because, they go to look for Laura Dannon, and she is being kidnapped by Ballantyne and the boys. And, they're like, oh, something's not right with them.
No, duh.
Yeah. In this fight, the fight scene was pretty cool. The
fight scene was cool.
I'll say that, like, Jade fighting Ballantyne and the other knights fighting Brahman and Kit, and you kind of get here that Kit really isn't, she isn't really that good.
Right, I mean, like, you're starting to, like, think back to that opening scene where you see Kit and Jade fighting and Kit just dominating her, and you're like, wait, how easy was Jade actually taking it on her? Because Kit is proving to not be a skilled fighter at all.
And this was a conversation like Jade and Kit had,
Right.
I've been taking it easy on you and stuff, and it causes a bit of a rift between them, the lovers.
Right.
Anyway, at the end of this fight... Somebody throws a smoke bomb. Was that Willow or was that
Yeah, I think Willow throws the smoke bomb to Right, instead of doing magic, Willow throws the smoke bomb, like tries to cause a distraction, and it ends up just letting the bad guys go away and kind of like vanish into thin air.
Yeah. And really, they're all kind of getting on Willow about not using magic, and I think it's warranted. Like we had
Me
said
too.
last episode, like it just feels like, you know, he should be this awesome, powerful wizard, and it's not there. It's not here. We have not seen it. Yeah. Alora does kind of run away. She after Valentine and them kind of escape with her, she gets free of the horse. She starts running in the woods. This was really weird for me. This scene was very strange. I was like, oh, did she run into some kind of weird dream? Because everything was
I had the same
dark,
thought. Yeah,
and,
yeah.
You know, it was all like I was like, oh man, like what's happening? Where's she gonna end up? Is she gonna end up seeing some monster or something else? And then she like goes into this, like stumbles into this beautiful clearing. And I'm like, oh, cool. She must have like crossed into this other realm. There's these two women here, Anne and Hubert, and like, you know, they seem pretty cool, very woodsy. I was like, they must be like magical beings, like really strong or something. Or maybe they're like, maybe it's the crone in disguise.
See, that's the thought I had. I was like, okay, wait. So at this time, Alora's running through the woods, and we're hearing like a narration back with like Willow and the gang talking about how don't go into the woods by yourself. You know, there's some evil clouds overhead. They'll do something to mess with your mind or whatever. And so when Alora's running through the woods by herself, I'm just like, oh, great. She's going to be doing all these things Willow is saying not to do to his own party.
Yeah.
And so when she stumbles upon the two women, like lumberjack people, I was like, okay, wait, are these like witches in disguise who are like going to try to like lure Alora away or anything? But no. It ends up just being two women who are kind enough to support Alora's like claim to be empress, and
they're kind of like
they're kind of badasses.
Yeah, well, at least
well, one of them.
One is, and I still like to this point after watching the episode, I'm still like, what was the point of them being in this episode?
I think the point was to make Alora see that there are people beyond her own party that are like willing to fight for her, willing to die for her, and that she does have this impact just by existing, that she is this like point of light for a lot of people. And it's like her kind of realizing just how big of a impact she can have by being who she is. And because these people she'd never met before, and so by her meeting them, introducing herself, and all of a sudden they're willing to fight for her, willing to die for her, that's got to be impactful.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I really didn't think about that at the time. The only thing I had come up with is that they wanted to show how strong Valentine was, or how corrupted he was, because, you know, in the ensuing fight, and Alora Dannon's kind of off to the side, while I want to say it was...
it was Hubert.
Yeah, who fought him, and she, like, put an axe right in him.
Yeah.
Like
she dominated him at first,
Yeah.
and then she let her guard down because she thought she killed him.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I can't die. I'm this evil zombie corrupted thing.
Yeah.
And then quickly knifes her.
Yep. And then, you know, quickly recovers Laura Dannon, and she goes with him. So anyway, and both of them end up dying because...
Right. Alora's like, I'll go with you. Just let the other lady go. And they're like, no, this is what happens when you run away. And then she's like chopped down while she's running through the woods.
Yeah. It's very sad. We have a little bit of more infighting here. You know that Kit and Jade have kind of had a bit of a split in in belief, because Jade told Kit, like, oh yeah, like I was taking it easy on you, and Kit's all like, oh no, my pride.
Yeah.
Because everything has to be about her. So you have Kit and Borman, who are like, we need to go this way, and Willow and crew is like, well, we're going to have to take the long way, and so they sort of split up. This really gives us more opportunity with Kit and Borman together and connecting.
Mm-hmm. And hearing more about Mad Mardigan and his adventure.
Yes, because you're getting some more information about why they're going to the Slaughtered Lamb, which happened to be, sounded like an town, an inn.
So I'm wondering if this place is supposed to be like the inn restaurant that Mad Mardigan was at in the first Willow movie when he was sleeping with another guy's wife and ended up hooking up with Willow and everything from there.
It'd be interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure. It could have been. But anyway, they're going there because they're going to recover part of the cuirass that Borman had talked about. And so they kind of go crypt diving.
Well, so he doesn't necessarily... Yeah, they go crypt diving. I was going to say that Borman's not 100% honest with Kit on this adventure.
Yeah.
And so we kind of see that he has a little bit of like a double motive. And I'm wondering what that is exactly.
To get the cuirass, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, it almost makes it seem like he's just doing this all for selfish reasons. He's like, oh yeah, I'll go on this adventure, but I'm doing it because I want the cuirass for me, not to do it for any other like righteous cause or anything.
Or maybe something to do with Mad Mardigan and writing a past.
Maybe, yeah.
Past wrong in the past. We don't know.
Right.
But he does recover the key, and we meet were-rats, kind of.
Which I actually really liked.
Yeah, I did too. What I didn't like here was the transition.
Yes.
So, like, the were-rats kind of showed up, and Kit was like, hey, you need to get up here. And then all of a sudden, he was up there.
Right.
And the were-rats hadn't done anything, and I was like, that's kind of weird.
Like teleported out without
there
us
should
even
have been
seeing.
some kind of struggle here, yeah.
Yeah, like have Kit like struggling to fight off the were-rats, and then Borman's like climbing up.
Yeah.
And like demonstrating just how cool he is, because he is one of the cooler characters in the show so far.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But the were-rats were like super 80s cheesy, and I was there for it.
So
It was great.
Yeah, very cool. I like that they're creating new monsters or creatures into this, and it's fun.
And they looked like they were practical effects as well, which is part of, I think, their charm.
Well, and I think that's a lot of the effects they've done with the show have been practical effects, and they've sort of steered away from some of the CGI. And I think we'll see that again later on with some other creatures, as I've seen a few stills. So, yeah.
Spoilery, Mike.
No, it's not too bad. It's just, yeah, we'll get to talk about them later. Anyway, while this is kind of happening, we're having this battle up top start because Elora Danan has shown up with her escort, if you will. And who's there to meet them a little bit later on is Willow and the crew. And so a little bit of a battle starts between, Jade and Valentine and Silas and some of the other soldiers. And Borman and Kit, do come back up. Yeah. And so there's lots of calls for Willow to do magic. And he says that he can't. And his reasoning before they start this battle is because he needs to save it for the crone and for where they're going.
Right.
Which is very odd to me because as far as we know, magic is just something you believe in yourself in. It's not this resource that just depletes over time.
So I will say that this is the first time that they're attempting to explain the way that magic works within the Willow universe. So we don't really know up until this point, other than it does have to do with belief in oneself. But by Willow talking to Silas about how he can't use his magic, he's got to save it up because he has to be at full strength to defeat the crone, was very interesting because it did add some perspective. Like, okay, wait, is this Willow talking more like smoke out of his mouth, or is he actually doing this on purpose? Is he not performing magic because he truly believes he can't do magic until the last minute, until it's necessary?
We kind of quickly find out here at least what motivates him to do strong magic,
and it's that everyone was about to die.
Yeah, well, and Silas.
Well, no, so
Silas, his best bud.
Yeah, yes. Silas gets murked at the hands of Valentine and his cronies. And then Jade is about to be taken out. Elora's about to be taken out. Everyone's in danger. And Willow just kind of goes Super Saiyan for a quick second and blasts everybody away.
And you can tell it's tolling on him. When
yeah,
he's
which I
doing
really
this
liked,
magic.
actually.
I did too. Because it's really letting us know, one, he is really powerful. But either something happened to him or there's something here we don't know about him.
Right.
And there's some pieces here that are a little upsetting as well, and I'll get to that in a moment. I kind of had an inkling here that Silas was going to die because Willow and him had this really big heart-to-heart.
Yeah.
So...
No, what I really liked about this scene here was that it did confirm that Willow is magical, that he is a powerful wizard, and that maybe he was telling the truth this whole time. Maybe he does know what he's talking about. And so it did kind of give me a little bit more faith in the series to see Willow explode in such a powerful way.
And I think we'll hopefully see more magic from him going forward. All the zombies are gone except for Valentine. And Jade ends up killing him after he tells her how proud he is of her and she has to do it. And, you know, she has to protect Laura Dannon because she's the only one that can stop the crone. And so we do know the crone is a woman. They refer to her as her.
Right.
So, yeah.
I mean, that does support what we talked about before, where we thought maybe it was this revived Bavmorda or something else. But yes, so we do know that it is a woman who is the crone.
Yeah. Now, I do want to just take a moment to just talk about death in fantasy books and shows and movies for just a moment. We have in this show already a few different deaths. Mm-hmm. We have the guardsman who'd been around a long time and died
right off the bat.
But then was subsequently forgotten. No one has brought that up at all. We have Silas. We have Valentine here. We have Willow's wife and son. Not sure on those
we
two.
Don't know for sure what happened there.
Yeah, we don't know. Mad Mardigan. And in books, like as you mentioned earlier at the beginning of the podcast, I've been reading The School for Good and Evil, and there has been death throughout that series. And I've just noticed that there really isn't any consequences for a lot of characters for this. Now, this show may be a little different with Willow's wife and son. I think those, if they are gone, that may impact like his ability to do magic and such, or his confidence in himself at least.
Yeah.
But like that guardsman that died, never brought up again, completely forgotten about. And so I hope that as we continue forward here with Silas and with Valentine, I want to see, it doesn't need to be like every 2 seconds like crying about it, but like it's something that's going to sort of carry with him a little bit, because these are characters that, at least for two of the party members here, they cared a lot about. And if they died, there should be some kind of emotional reckoning with this. It shouldn't just be like, I shed a tear and now I'm good.
So I'm going to chime in here really quick. So I have watched episode 4. So Mike has not. This is addressed in episode 4.
Okay. Good. Because, like, as I said, I've been reading, like, School for Good and Evil, and that's something that has not sat well with me in that book series. Is characters die, and then it's, like, thought about once or twice. It's, like, nothing. And I'm like, these are teenage kids here. And, like, in this show, these are teenage kids, supposedly. And, like, these deaths should mean something.
Yeah.
They should show this emotional damage and stuff, because otherwise we're really painting this whole false thing that, oh, yeah, people die. It's whatever. We just keep going. Like, no.
Right.
That's not how, people work.
I think the way that death is handled in any series is very interesting to see, because, like you said, you don't want it to be something where somebody dies in the entire rest of the series. They're like constantly referencing it, constantly going back, and like just stay hung up on it for the entire rest of the series. But you do want it to feel realistic. There's a happy medium, I feel like, where something can happen where it's impactful, like heavily impactful early on. Then it gets kind of like suppressed or like accepted. But some things might happen later on that do dredge up old feelings that you thought you moved past. And you might have to readdress those again. But, like, having a character that, like, raised you die, and then the next episode you're like, all is right in the world. And that doesn't ever sit well with me. And I definitely prefer it in kind of like the way that, like, Lord of the Rings handled Boromir's death. Where, like, he wasn't, like, explicitly like mentioned throughout the entire rest of the adventure. However, there were little bits and little pieces here and there that, still called back to him, still let you know that people felt his loss and everything.
And they didn't have that as strong a connection to Boromir in The Lord of the Rings. So like that was believable. Like, yes, there was some camaraderie there, but it's not like it was your father figure dying and for you killing your father figure, right?
Right, but like you in Lord of the Rings, and this is a little tangent here, but like there's the impact on Denethor, there's the impact on Faramir, there's the impact on Aragorn. Just going off of those people there's the impact on Merry and Pippin. Pippin pledges to be a member of the City Watch or City Defenders at Minas Tirith because of what Boromir did for him. And so like there is like that like reverence for the dead in Lord of the Rings that I feel like could be carried on in other fantasy formats as well. Yeah.
And again, just approaching it in a I think it's almost like a responsible way.
Right.
So that was my little tangent on that. I just wanted to make sure I talked about that.
I think it's good.
Now the last bit here is, they kind of bury their dead and they Borman's like, I'm going up those steps because otherwise we're going to drown in this lake of whatever it's called. And this irked me off a little bit. Willow was just like, no, don't go up that way. And he's like, well, unless you're going to magic us up and fly us somewhere, that's the only way we can go. And Willow gives no reason why, nothing. And they just walk up the steps. And I'm just like, you just told him not to go there and just said nothing else.
Apparently Willow doesn't like to explain himself.
Yes.
Or like doesn't feel like he needs to. Or he might still be in shock of Silas dying.
That, it might be a little bit of both. But I just thought that was such a weird, like, weirdly written line.
Yeah.
Anyway, they go up the steps and then he's like, that's why. Because this giant cyclone and they're in...
Nakmar. They're at Bavmorda's old castle.
Yeah. So, they are now in Nakmar.
Oh, and we can't forget, they realize that Graydon has been injured.
Yeah, which... it's magical?
Well, so it was exactly how the Lich took over Ballantyne, was through, like, wounding him, he was able to infect him. And so I guess that Ballantyne or like one of his infected minions wounded Graydon.
Which again doesn't make sense. Because why would you need a Laura Dannon when you could just infect the entire kingdom this quickly?
Well, they haven't thought through the zombie apocalypse, Mike. They don't know if they want to go that route.
Yeah. Like, that's my thing, is if it's that easy to spread, like, there wouldn't be this movie, right? Or this show. So I think that's a little issue I have with that. We talked about it being a bit of an issue too, like it just being like this like quick thing instead of
having the time it needs to really get it done properly.
Yeah, but it's okay. Overall, this episode though, like I liked some of the more interaction we got, some of the world building, learning more about Borman and like having Borman and Kit kind of be together has been kind of fun.
Yeah.
Since it's more like, I feel like how they want Mad Mardigan and Borman, sort of us to get that vibe between them.
Right.
Laura Dannon is, Laura Dannon, damsel in distress right now, not believing in herself, and not really that interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yet,
fully agree.
But I think we're going to get there, hopefully, with her. We know she's going to go through a few phases here where she's, like, pining after the boy, she's learning her magics, and maybe eventually she'll get good. Don't know. I am interested to see how she develops with her magic, though.
Yeah, so far, episode 3 is just like episode 2 for me, where episode 2 is better than episode 1. I think episode 3 is better than episode 2. And so that's one thing that I am appreciating so far about the series, is that it's on an upward trajectory. Every episode is better than the one before it, which is all you could really hope for.
Oh, yeah, agreed. Definitely. I think it's definitely become more interesting each episode, so look forward to the next episode.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to talking about it and rounding out and seeing where this adventure takes us, because right now I feel like it's progressing at a little bit of a mixed bag, like as how fast it's going. Sometimes it feels like it's going really slow. Other times it's like speeding right along and you're like teleporting from the bottom of a well up to the top. So we'll see what happens, but I'm enjoying it enough so far to keep watching, and I hope that you guys are enjoying that as well. All right, so I think that's going to do it for us for this episode here. So this is going to be 2 Nerds signing off. See ya.
See ya.